Welcome to The Living Laboratory, an exploration of George Washington Carver's pioneering role in regenerative agriculture. This slide highlights Carver's work with Arachis hypogea, the humble peanut, as a tool for ecological restoration. The illustration focuses on the plant's root system, specifically the nodules that house nitrogen-fixing bacteria. Carver recognized these as nature's way of healing soil depleted by years of intensive cotton farming. By advocating for crop rotation and soil vitality, he laid the groundwork for modern sustainable farming. This visual serves as a tribute to his philosophy that true innovation involves listening to nature. Carver didn't just see a plant, he saw a biological engine capable of reviving the land and supporting humanity. Here we peel back the layers of the myth versus the magnitude. While popular culture often reduces George Washington Carver to a peanut man caricature, the historical record reveals a far more profound legacy. He didn't actually invent peanut butter, the Aztecs and John Harvey Kellogg got there first, nor did he seek a patent fortune, holding only 3 out of a sense of divine service. His true magnitude was systemic. He revolutionized Southern agriculture through advocacy for crop rotation. By introducing peanuts and sweet potatoes to heal soil ravaged by cotton, Carver didn't just save farms, he broke cycles of poverty and debt. He wasn't just an inventor, he was a humanitarian architect of self-sufficiency. We now trace a trajectory defying gravity, the extraordinary path of George Washington Carver. His story begins in 1864, born into enslavement and orphaned as an infant. Despite these harrowing origins, Carver possessed an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, leaving home at age 12 to wander in search of an education. Initially recognized as a gifted plant doctor and a talented artist at Simpson College, his botanical paintings eventually paved the way for a scientific career. He shattered systemic barriers at Iowa State, becoming the university's first black student, graduate, and faculty member. Earning a master's in bacterial botany by 1896, Carver's life stands as a testament to resilience, moving from the weight of history to the pinnacle of academia. We now examined the agrarian antagonist, a stark contrast between the destructive King Cotton monoculture and George Washington Carver's restorative diversification model. For years, cotton reigned as a tyrant, depleting soil nutrients and trapping sharecroppers in a cycle of debt, boll weevil infestations, and reliance on expensive fertilizers. Carver proposed a radical alternative, healing the earth through systematic crop rotation. By championing nitrogen-fixing legumes and nutrient-dense crops like sweet potatoes, he replaced vulnerability with resilience. His model moved farmers away from purchased chemical interventions and toward natural ecological processes. It wasn't just a change in crops, it was a blueprint for economic self-sufficiency, proving that soil health and human prosperity are inextricably linked. In Healing the Earth, we explore the scientific mechanics of Carver's nitrogen cycle. The process begins with Phase 1, depletion, where relentless cotton farming leaves the soil barren. To combat this, Phase 2 introduces peanuts and cowpeas. The magic happens in Phase 3, fixation, as seen through the magnifying glass. Specialized root nodules house bacteria that pull nitrogen from the air and fix it into the ground. Finally, Phase 4. Regeneration reveals organically fertilized soil, primed for a thriving future. By mastering this biological engine, Carver transformed farming from a destructive extraction into a restorative cycle. He proved that by feeding the soil, we ensure the land and the people who toil upon it can truly flourish. In your laboratory will have to be in your head. We witness Carver's arrival at Tuskegee Institute following Booker T. Washington's daunting 1896 invitation. Promised only hard work and a department that existed only on paper, Carver arrived to find a total lack of equipment. Undeterred, he became an early pioneer of recycling, building God's little workshop from materials scavenged from local trash dumps. He transformed discarded teacups into mortars, hollowed reeds into pipettes, and lantern chimneys into beakers. For 47 years, Carver maintained his mission without ever requesting a raise. This slide captures the essence of his resourcefulness, proving that scientific brilliance isn't defined by the tools you are given, but by the ingenuity you bring to the bench. Carver defined chemergy, inventing a market where Carver's genius bridges the gap between the soil and the shelf. Understanding that farmers couldn't abandon cotton without a viable alternative, he pioneered chemergy, the chemistry of agricultural raw materials. This innovation tree showcases his prolific output, over 118 uses for the sweet potato and 300 for the peanut. Carver didn't just see food, he saw the molecular building blocks for cosmetics, household dyes, and industrial grease. By transforming simple legumes and tubers into everything from synthetic rubber to face powder, he engineered an entirely new economy. He proved that sustainability requires more than just better farming, it requires the imagination to turn a surplus harvest into a commercial revolution. In The Systems Thinking Feedback Loop, we witness the culmination of Carver's holistic vision. This circular model begins with soil healing, where nitrogen-fixing peanuts and sweet potatoes restore the earth. The resulting crop surplus is then funneled into laboratory innovation, where Carver's genius creates hundreds of new commercial products. This ingenuity sparks market demand, ensuring farmers have profitable outlets for their harvests. The final stage is economic independence, providing a vital pathway for black farmers to escape the cyclical debt of sharecropping. Carver didn't just treat the soil, he engineered a self-sustaining engine of prosperity. He proved that by aligning ecological health with industrial creativity, we can build a feedback loop that transforms systemic poverty into sustainable freedom. Moving beyond the gates of Tuskegee, we encounter the living laboratory on wheels. George Washington Carver realized that academic bulletins were useless to illiterate sharecroppers. To solve this, he designed the Jesup Agricultural Wagon in 1906, a pioneering mobile extension school. Loaded with plows, seeds, and demonstration plants, this rolling classroom brought scientific innovation directly to the farmers' fields. In its first summer alone, the wagon reached up to 2,000 rural farmers monthly, teaching them vital techniques for soil restoration and self-sufficiency. By democratizing knowledge, Carver proved that true education must meet people where they are. He didn't just wait for progress in his laboratory, he put his laboratory on wheels and drove it into the heart of the community. In The Artist's Eye in a Scientist's World, we rediscovered George Washington Carver as a man of profound aesthetic vision. Long before his agricultural fame, Carver was an award-winning painter and pianist who viewed the earth through a creative lens. This perspective birthed the Alabama clay innovations. Recognizing that impoverished farmers couldn't afford commercial luxuries, Carver extracted brilliant blue, purple, and red pigments directly from the native soil. He transformed simple dirt into wood stains, ceramics, and face powders, proving that beauty isn't a luxury, it's a harvest. This visual reminds us that Carver's genius lay in his ability to see the extraordinary in the ordinary, demonstrating that utility and artistry are both rooted in the very same soil. Finally, we reach a unified philosophy of life and land, the heartbeat of Carver's existence. This Venn diagram reveals that his genius wasn't siloed, it thrived at the intersection of scientific rigor, artistic expression, and spiritual stewardship. Whether analyzing soil chemistry or extracting dyes from Alabama clay, Carver viewed nature as a divine broadcast. He believed that by blending the analytical mind with a creative heart, one could achieve the greatest good. For him, science and art were merely tools used to decode creation for the socio-economic liberation of the marginalized. He didn't just study life, he lived in the center of that harmony, proving that true stewardship requires both a microscope and a soul. In our final act, a legacy that outgrew the laboratory, we witnessed the full scale of Carver's impact. He was the sustainable pioneer, championing organic fertilizers and zero-waste recycling decades ahead of his time. As a statesman of science, he navigated the halls of Congress and advised world leaders like Gandhi, earning the title the Black Leonardo. Yet, his most profound role was that of the ultimate philanthropist. Carver famously rejected lucrative offers from industrial titans like Edison and Ford to remain at Tuskegee. He lived simply, donating his $60,000 life savings to further research. He chose helpfulness over a personal fortune, leaving behind a legacy so monumental it became the first national site honoring a Black American.